My life, until recently, was like a well-written computer program. It was logical. It was predictable. Wake up, go to my engineering job in Bangalore, write code, come home, eat my mother's delicious dal, and sleep. Love? That was a variable I had not declared yet. My parents had a plan for that, of course. A nice Indian boy, probably an engineer too, from a good family. It was all set. Then my boss assigned me to a new international project, and that's when the bug entered my perfectly running system. His name was Kofi, a senior developer from our partner company, a black African man based all the way in Puerto Rico. Our first video call was just another meeting in my calendar. I saw his face pop up on my screen. He had a warm smile that seemed to reach his eyes, and a deep, calm voice that made our technical jargon sound almost poetic. I thought, okay, he seems professional. This project should go smoothly. I was all business, focused on APIs, databases, and project deadlines. I saw him not as a man, but as a colleague, a set of skills we needed. He was just a face on a screen thousands of miles and a dozen time zones away. Little did I know, this call was not just the start of a project, but the start of a complete system overhaul for my life. We talked about work and only work. For weeks. He was brilliant, spotting issues in my code that I had missed. I was impressed. I started looking forward to our daily sync-up calls. It was the most interesting part of my day, a break from the usual office chatter. I would prepare my updates meticulously, not just to be professional, but because I enjoyed our intellectual sparring. He would listen patiently, nod, and then offer a suggestion that was always simple, yet incredibly effective. Our professional chemistry was undeniable. We were a good team, building a good product. That's all it was. Or so I told myself. Slowly, something shifted. A project discussion would end, but the call wouldn't. He would ask, "So what's Bangalore like today?" I'd describe the monsoon rains, the traffic, the smell of filter coffee in the air. He would tell me about the blue oceans of Puerto Rico, the sound of salsa music in the streets, and the taste of mofongo. We were no longer just colleagues. We were two people, sharing small, colorful pieces of our worlds. The professional boundary was blurring, line by line like code being commented out, and a new, more personal script was being written right before my eyes. The work calls soon became the excuse. The real conversations happened after, on WhatsApp. It started with a simple good morning from him, sent when it was my evening, and a good night from me, sent as his day was just beginning. Our chats became a bridge across the oceans and the time zones. He would send me photos of the beach near his home. I would send him pictures of my mother's Rangoli designs. We were living completely different lives, in completely different worlds, yet we found a common ground in our late-night chats. These conversations were my little secret, a world away from my family watching TV in the next room. He had a way of asking questions that made me think, not just about work, but about life. What did I want to do? What were my dreams beyond getting a promotion? He told me about his family in Ghana, his journey to Puerto Rico, his passion for photography. I found myself opening up to him in a way I never had with anyone else. I told him about the pressure of being the perfect Indian daughter, my secret love for writing, and my fear of an arranged marriage. He never judged. He just listened. And in his listening, I felt seen. I felt understood. We were building more than just software. We were building a friendship. The friendship, however, started to feel like something more. I would get a small flutter in my stomach when his name flashed on my phone. I would reread our old conversations, smiling to myself like a fool. One night he told me, "You know, Priya, talking to you is the best part of my day." My heart did a little jump. I quickly typed back, "Same here." My hands were trembling. It was a simple exchange, but it felt like a confession. The unspoken words hung in the digital air between us. This was no longer just friendship. We were falling for each other, message by message, emoji by emoji. Love was a word we hadn't used yet, but it was there. It was in the way he'd stay up late, despite an early meeting, just to talk to me. It was in the way I'd wake up early to check for his good morning message. It was in the shared silence on our video calls when we would just look at each other and smile, no words needed. The time difference, which seemed like such a huge obstacle at first, now felt like a blessing. Our love story was alive 24/7, always awake in one part of the world. It was a continuous, unbroken thread connecting Bangalore to Puerto Rico. If you had asked me a year ago about long-distance relationships, I would have laughed. "It's impractical," I would have said, like a true engineer. "The probability of failure is too high. It's an emotional bug, not a feature." I believed love had to be tangible. It had to be dinners, movie dates, and meeting each other's friends. It couldn't possibly be just a voice on the phone and a face on a screen. I was a practical girl, a realist. I had my life planned, and a romance across continents was definitely not in the blueprint. It was a ridiculous Bollywood movie idea that would never work in real life. But now, I was living that ridiculous idea. And it felt more real than anything I had ever known. My own feelings were a huge surprise to me. How could I feel so deeply for someone I had never met in person? How could I miss someone I had never touched? It defied all my logic, all my careful planning. It was like discovering a whole new law of physics. My heart was breaking all the rules my brain had so carefully set. This feeling was not impractical. It was powerful. It was a force that was rewriting my entire operating system from the inside out. My days began and ended with him. His thoughts became a constant background process in my mind. When I tasted a new dish, I wondered if he would like it. When I saw a beautiful sunset, I wished he was there to see it with me. I was living a double life. In one, I was the obedient daughter, the diligent employee. In the other, secret life, I was a girl in love, sharing my deepest secrets with a man in Puerto Rico. This secret world was vibrant and full of hope, a stark contrast to the predictable path laid out for me. My carefully constructed belief system was crumbling. I, Priya Sharma, the girl who didn't believe in long-distance love, was now completely, hopelessly invested in one. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. I had fallen in love not with a person's presence, but with their soul. I had connected with his mind, his humor, his kindness, his voice. The distance, instead of being a barrier, had stripped away all the superficial things. It had forced us to connect on the deepest level possible. I had to admit it to myself. I was in love, and it was the most illogical, impractical, and wonderful thing that had ever happened to me. With this beautiful realization came a wave of fear, a cold, heavy fear that settled in my stomach. What was I doing? My family, my parents. They had dreams for me, and those dreams included a son-in-law who looked a certain way, spoke our language, and understood our customs. Kofi was everything they hadn't planned for. He was not Indian. He was a black man from Africa. In our society, a love like this wasn't just unusual. For many, it would be unacceptable. The whispers, the stares, the judgment. I could already imagine it all. My happiness would come at the cost of their peace. The conflict was tearing me apart. My mind would run through the worst-case scenarios, the arguments with my parents, the disappointment in their eyes, the gossip among relatives. Society has an unwritten code, a set of rules about who you can and cannot love. And I was about to break all of them. Was I being selfish? Was I betraying my family for a man I had never even met? Some days, the fear was so overwhelming that I thought about ending it, about telling Kofi we should just be friends. It would be easier. It would be safer. It would be the sensible thing to do. But then, my phone would buzz. It would be him, sending a silly joke or asking about my day. And in that moment, all the fear would melt away. I would remember the feeling of being truly understood, of being loved for who I am. How could I give that up? How could I throw away the most genuine connection I have ever felt just because of what other people might think? This love was not a mistake. It was a rare and precious gift. It was a connection that transcended race, culture, and distance. It was pure. In the end, my heart won the battle against my fear. I looked at a photo of Kofi on my phone, his kind eyes smiling at me. I knew it would be a fight, a hard fight. There would be tears, difficult conversations, and moments of doubt. But our love was not a bug in the system. It was the most important feature. It was the code that made everything else make sense. I took a deep breath and sent him a message. I think I'm falling in love with you. His reply came almost instantly. I think I've been in love with you for a while now. And I knew right then that true love is always, always worth fighting for.